Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So, continuing the retreat theme on happiness. And today's topic, general theme will be happiness and generosity or giving. So I'll be reading a section on Buddhadhamma. But before I do that, thought I'd just read this passage from Stillness Flowing that I remembered, which I appreciate. And it includes Ajahn talking about his own generosity. And it's about his decision to become a samanera. This is from page 25 of Stillness Flowing. It was at the age of 9 that Lungpor asked permission from his parents to move out of the family home and into the local monastery. It was a common practice for parents to entrust a son to the monks, but rare for a boy to volunteer. Many years later, Lungpor spoke of his decision in the following way. Well, the causes and conditions were there. As a boy, I had a fear of committing evil actions. I was always a straightforward lad. I was honest and I did not tell lies. When there were things to be shared out, I was considerate. I would take less than my due. That basic nature just kept maturing until one day I said to myself, "Go to the monastery." I asked my friends if they had ever thought of doing the same thing, and none of them had. The idea just arose naturally. I'd say it was the fruit of past actions. As time went on, wholesome qualities steadily grew inside me until one day they led me to decide and do as I did. And so now continuing from chapter 11, Happiness of P.A. Payutto's Buddhadhamma, translated by Robin Moore, and this is section G, Happiness of Giving Leads to Peace in Society, and this section begins on page 931. As mentioned earlier, the Buddha gave great importance to social happiness. The focus so far has been on internal spiritual qualities, by demonstrating how people's wholesome mind states are connected to and have an effect on social happiness. The discussion has shown how people's happiness has many aspects, one of which is happiness on a social level. To complete this discussion, we need also to look at those principles pertaining to a more active engagement in society. We can begin by asking the question, when someone feels kindness and wishes to make others happy, or feels compassion and wishes for others to be freed from suffering, what is the most fundamental expression of these wholesome mind states? This is connected to a related question: what quality did the Buddha most often speak about in relation to householders? The answer is giving, dana. That is generosity. Buddhism begins with generosity. The Buddha presented a threefold practice for lay people, called the 3 bases of meritorious action, punya kiriya watu, which is paired with the threefold training of the monastic community. Simply speaking, the threefold training, tiso sika, is the practice for the monks and nuns, while the 3 bases of meritorious action of generosity, dana, moral conduct, sila, and spiritual cultivation, bhavana, comprise the practice for lay people. The first factor of meritorious action is generosity, dana. In all, the important groups taught by the Buddha of spiritual qualities pertaining to the general public, generosity is always the first factor. What does this term giving, dana, imply? It implies that generally speaking, for the average person, the pursuit, the possession, the division and the consumption of material things are the most predominant activities, the main issues in people's lives. Of all these activities dealing with material things, they merge at the activity of consumption. What is the basic line of thinking, the basic mental preoccupation for most people? Due to the pressure of wanting to survive, people struggle to obtain things for themselves. This repeated thought pattern of trying to get things, to obtain things, eventually becomes habitual. It becomes an underlying tendency of the mind. Yet the pursuit, action, and accumulation of things is relentless. People generally do not know what is enough. Moreover, material things are limited in number, giving rise to competition and oppression, which escalates until the whole world is in conflict. The solution to this problem begins with giving, with generosity. At the very least, generosity should be used to offset acquisitive tendencies. But if possible, one should embed this quality as a habit, as a natural disposition of the mind. If one only thinks about acquiring things, one will end up exploiting others, and one will experience inner turmoil. To balance the act of acquisition, it is thus essential to also practice generosity. Sharing with others is thus paired with the pursuit, acquisition, and consumption of things for one's own personal benefit. It is considered the fundamental spiritual quality for lay people and for the well-being of human society. Generosity acts as a foundation for developing higher spiritual qualities. The three bases of meritorious action, punya, kriya, vatu, provide a broad outline of such development as generosity, moral conduct, and cultivation of the mind. When the Buddha taught lay people whose knowledge of Dhamma was still at a beginning level, he would generally lay a gradual foundation by teaching what is referred to as the fivefold progressive instruction, anubhikkhata. This teaching begins with generosity, which is then followed by a talk on morality, talk on heavenly pleasures, the disadvantages of sensual pleasures, kama dinawa, and the benefits of renunciation, nekkhamma nisangsa. Generosity is part of the four principles of service, the virtues for making social integration. Generosity, kindly speech, acts of service, and even an equal treatment of others. Generosity is the first factor in the 10 royal virtues of a ruler, which are generosity, moral conduct, self-sacrifice, integrity, gentleness, self-control, non-anger, non-violence, patience, and conformity to righteousness. Generosity is even the first factor in the 10 perfections, the virtues perfected by the bodhisattvas, which are generosity, moral conduct, renunciation, wisdom, effort, patience, honesty, determination, loving-kindness, and equanimity. Generosity is the first factor in several other groups of spiritual qualities. Its importance is obvious. Even if one is starving and close to death, it is generosity that may save one's life. Generosity helps to alleviate suffering and generates happiness in societies that are competitive or oppressive due to the pursuit of personal pleasures. Besides its own inherent benefits, generosity is also a supporting factor for other qualities, including moral conduct. The sharing of material things makes it easier for people to maintain virtuous conduct. On a basic level, when people receive things from others, they are less likely to try and seize them through unlawful means. People have varying degrees of moral steadfastness. Some people will not steal from others if they are not truly in need, but if they are destitute, they may revert to stealing as a way to survive. Generosity, say in the form of charity, can help this situation. Of course, there are some people who have a very weak immunity to immoral behavior and will try to seize things from others whenever they feel the slightest need. In such cases, one may need to come up with other ways to address this problem. In any case, when there is mutual sharing and caring, the incidents involving theft and violation of others' property will diminish. Generosity thus helps to protect moral standards in society. Generosity is also a support for the cultivation of the mind. Even those practitioners who develop tranquility and insight meditation, samatha vipassana, prize the value of generosity. The Buddha stated how in the context of tranquility and insight meditation, generosity is both an adornment of the mind and an embellishment of the mind. The practice of generosity and self-sacrifice helps to enhance and beautify the mind. It makes the mind receptive, obliging, and intent on goodness. It fortifies the mind, integrates wholesome intentions, and prepares the mind for relinquishment. It makes the mind clear, spacious, relaxed, and bright. It is conducive to concentration, to mental purification, and to higher spiritual states. The delight and happiness of generosity alone is greatly beneficial to one's meditation, to the development of tranquility and insight. For this reason, lay people who have reached a level of awakening are still dedicated to the act of giving and sharing. The term dana encompasses a wide range of meanings, including generosity, charity, liberality, open-handedness, and hospitality. As mentioned earlier, it is the basis for a happy, harmonious society. Generosity is of key significance in Buddhism, both in the Buddhist teachings and in Buddhist history. Here in the Buddhist country of Thailand, one can observe that Thai people give easily, relinquish things easily, and are charitable by nature. Giving needs to be done correctly and carefully, however. It needs to be accompanied by wise reflection, by taking precautions against harmful side effects. Moreover, it needs to be integrated with other aspects of spiritual practice. One should not think, I have reached the stage of meditation. I no longer need to participate in giving. This is incorrect. Generosity supports meditation practice. As mentioned above, it acts as an adornment for the mind, enabling one's tranquility and insight meditation to bear fruit. And so now I will be reading some sutta quotes. These are all translated by Ajahn Geoff, all freely available at dhammatalks.org. And these first two quotes are from Wings to Awakening. I got them, this first one's from the Anguttara Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya 7, number 6. And what, monks, is the treasure of generosity? There is the case of a disciple of the noble ones, his awareness cleansed of the stain of stinginess, living at home, freely generous, open-handed, delighted in being magnanimous, responsive to request, delighting in the distribution of alms. This is called the treasure of generosity. And this is Itivutka 26. If beings knew, as I know, the results of giving and sharing, they would not eat without having given, nor would the stain of miserliness overcome their minds. Even if it were their last bite, their last mouthful, they would not eat without having shared, if there were someone to receive their gift. But because beings do not know, as I know, the results of giving and sharing, they eat without having given. The stain of miserliness overcomes their minds. And now there's a collection of sutta quotes from the Ajahn Geoff's compilation, the 10 Perfections. And these start on page 41. And this is Samyutta Nikaya 3:24. As he was saying to one side, King Pasenadi Kosala said to the Blessed One, "Where, Lord, should a gift be given?" "Wherever the mind feels confidence, great King. But a gift given where, Lord, bears great fruit." This question is one thing, great King, where should a gift be given? While this, a gift given where bears great fruit, is something else entirely. What is given to a virtuous person, rather than to an unvirtuous one, bears great fruit. And now, Anguttara Nikaya from the Book of the Sixes, number 37. And how is a donation endowed with 6 factors? There is the case where there are the 3 factors of the donor, the 3 factors of the recipients. And which are the 3 factors of the donor? There is the case where the donor, before giving, is glad. While giving, her mind is bright and clear, and after giving is gratified. These are the 3 factors of the donor. And which are the 3 factors of the recipients? There is the case where the recipients are free of passion or are practicing for the subduing of passion, free of aversion or practicing for the subduing of aversion, and free of delusion or practicing for the subduing of delusion. These are the 3 factors of the recipients. Just as it is not easy to take the measure of the great ocean as just this many buckets of water, just this many hundreds of buckets of water, just this many thousands of buckets of water, or just this many hundreds of thousands of buckets of water, it is simply reckoned as a great mass of water, incalculable, immeasurable. In the same way, it is not easy to take measure of the merit of a donation thus endowed with 6 factors, as just this much a bonanza of merit, a bonanza of what is skillful, a nutriment of bliss, heavenly, resulting in bliss, leading to heaven, that leads to what is desirable, pleasing, charming, beneficial, pleasant. It is simply reckoned as a great mass of merit, incalculable, immeasurable. In this last sutta I'll read was Anguttara Nikaya 7's number 49. And it's just the sort of final bit of the sutta where it's going through the different motivations. But Ajahn Geoff notes that actually all of the motivations here in the sutta lead to heaven, but it's just they're going in ascending order in terms of the results that they can lead to. So this is the conclusion of the sutta. Having given a gift, not seeking one's own profit, not with a mind attached to the reward, not seeking to store up for oneself, nor with the thought, I'll enjoy this after death, nor with the thought, giving is good. So these are the, it's going in an ascending order for the motivations. Nor with the thought, this was given in the past, done in the past, by my father and grandfather. It would not be right for me to let this old family custom be discontinued. Nor with the thought, I am well off. These are not well off. It would not be right for me, being well off, not to give a gift to those who are not well off. Nor with the thought, just as there were great sacrifices of the sages of the past, Attika, Wamaka, Wamadeva, Vesamita, Yamatagi, Angirasa, Bharavaja, Vasita, Kaspu, and Bhagu. In the same way, this will be my distribution of gifts. Nor with the thought, when this gift of mine is given, it makes the mind serene. Gratification and joy arise. Ajahn Geoff notes that all of the above motivations lead to various levels of heaven, but not to non-returning. But with the thought, this is an ornament for the mind, a support for the mind. On the breakup of the body, after death, one reappears in the company of Brahma's retinue. Then, having exhausted that action, that power, that status, that sovereignty, one is a non-returner and does not come back to this world. And Ajahn Geoff mentions from the commentary that this higher motivation, untainted by lower motivations and leading to non-returning, requires a certain level of mastery and concentration and insight to be one's genuine motivation for giving. So the end of the sutta. This Sariputta is the cause. This is the reason why a person gives a gift of a certain sort and it does not bear great fruit or great benefit, whereas another person gives a gift of the same sort and it bears great fruit and great benefit. So this concludes the readings on generosity.